and welcome to part 2 of the Atlantic Division preview. If you haven't listened to part 1, just head over and listen to it right now. Actually, you could listen to this first. It'll be fine. But we previewed the Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres, and the Detroit Red Wings along with the Florida Panthers. And on this show, the Montreal Canadiens, the Ottawa Senators, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we will close out the show with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just so happens that that's how alphabetical order works. Crazy little thing there. Justin, hi.
Hey, hi.
Sorry, I forgot to introduce you. Justin Baker, co-host. Welcome to the show that you're literally always on.
Literally,
like,
always.
What do you say? You're always there. We do it together, so it's like I'm not like really welcoming you to the show because you're literally half the show.
Thank you.
This show would be garbage without you. So I would be, talking, and then I'd ask a question and I go, oh shit, I got to answer that question myself. Oh, I should have probably done a little more research. Okay. All right. So we'll jump right in to previewing the rest of this division because it is 6 p.m. on Wednesday. We have like an hour before the first Atlantic Division game. So we have to give our preview before that game comes on. And even though this episode might get released after the fact, I promise you, it's 6:02, 10/13/21. Our predictions will all be before any Atlantic divisions have been played out.
Well, let me stop you right there because unfortunately Tampa Bay played Pittsburgh last night.
Oh, they did. Yes. Yeah, I forgot. Oh, you know what? Tampa Bay's still in the Southeast Division. Still in a division with Washington, Carolina, and Florida.
They might as well be.
Yeah, there you go. Well, okay. Well, Tampa Bay played one game and they lost. So, but is that gonna make me change my division pick? Nah. Oh shoot! I had them beating Pittsburgh in my. I definitely like. I don't go through the whole schedule and try to figure out they're going to win this one, they're going to lose this one. Okay, that's where they're going to finish. No, I don't have an algorithm. I sometimes look at other people's algorithms and laugh, but I don't have an algorithm.
There you go.
If they could predict, like they're like, oh yeah, my algorithm were only an average of 8 points off per team. I'm like, oh, wow. So over 31, in the past 31 teams, you were only off by an average of 8 points. So that means you could be pretty close on some. You could be 2 points off, and then on others you could be 18 points off. Like, come on. Nah, I'm good. I can get pretty darn close too, just going down a list and knowing who's good. Like, I don't need an algorithm necessarily, although it is fun. But I think we can all use our brains. If you watch enough hockey and you've been watching it for a long time, you can use your brain. But also, not saying that statistics are bad. I love advanced stats, but I don't think that those advanced statistics point you to knowing when one of these teams just comes out of nowhere and makes the playoffs. Like, it happens all the time. A team that no one expects to make the playoffs just sneaks in, and no amount of algorithms can account for, life.
Yeah, who would have guessed Montreal would have been in the finals last year with an algorithm?
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now there were people that said that they could win the division in that North.
Sure.
But I suppose if you believed that they could win the division in the regular season, that some people could have them winning a round, maybe two, but I don't think anyone had them beating Vegas. Anyways, I know there's the Carey Price factor, but okay, let's dive in to the Carey Price factor and the Montreal Canadiens, who Carey Price isn't even going to be playing. He enters the NHLPA player assistant. Hope him. I wish him the best. I hope that he is able to recover from what he's been going through. But we won't spend too much time on that. We will spend time talking about Jake Allen and Samuel Montembeault. I don't even know if that's how you say his name, but that's.
I love how you said it, though.
I actually, I think in a season of NHL 21, although NHL 22, I think just came out for all the people willing to pay like $100 for that game. No thanks. I'm not paying $100 for a video game. Hell no. I'll pay the price of the regular game because I don't really care about getting extra hockey bags and card packs, and I can't get into that. I sound like a boomer playing NHL. I just want to play exhibition games.
I just want the alumni package so I can be Andrew Raycroft in goal. That's
right.
all.
Oh yes. No. I just want to create myself and put myself onto a team and then play a season and make my guy break Gretzky's record for most goals. That's all I want to do. With new graphics every year, I'll buy the guy with new graphics. Okay, Montreal Canadiens. They go out and they re-sign Nick Suzuki to a monster deal. Man, Nick Suzuki got paid. And Shea Weber looks like he might be out all year. We don't really know. We just know that he's not here to start the year. They signed David Savard, a nice signing from the Tampa Bay Lightning and former Columbus Blue Jacket. And Jonathan Drouin is back. What are your do you see this team as a team that can go to the Stanley Cup Finals again?
No. I'm putting the kibosh on that right now. Don't get me wrong. I think they did a fantastic job last year in the playoffs. Shutting down Toronto was no easy feat. They were able to do it.
Well, I'll tell you how they did it. Toronto fucked up.
Well, there you go. And we'll get into that a little bit later, too.
I always put the explicit tag on these things now, so we don't get flagged anymore. I got flagged a couple times because I'm like, yeah, our show's pretty clean.
Yeah.
And, and then it catches, like, I get some iTunes thing that's like, hey, we had to flag your thing, and now you're in trouble. I'm like, what do you mean I'm in trouble? Just I'll flag it. So now I flag them all the time.
I said shit once, and now I'm in trouble.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Yeah, okay. So Nick Suzuki, right? I think, to me, this signing is going to be great a couple of years from now. I think over, the next year, maybe 2 years, it's going to be, okay, it's maybe a little overpaid, maybe just about right for a guy like that. But, I mean, that shows you how important he is to this team because, again, to me, the mistake was letting Philip Deneau go. I think Nick Suzuki was very, very well suited for a number 2 center spot. Now, again, he could be a fantastic number 1 for a lot of teams. I still think he's capable of playing minutes. He's improved his defensive game, I think, on both sides of the puck. He plays pretty well. He's not – I mean, I've heard comparisons to Patrice Bergeron in the past. I'm not sure if I buy that yet. But, again, I think he's capable of playing two-way hockey. But when you look beyond Nick Suzuki, right, they don't really have anybody, to me. Christian Dvorak, again, he could be a number 2 center for this team. I'm not really sure where they slot him in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they've been playing him in the preseason is Dvorak's at center, Drouin's on his wing and Josh Anderson on the other side. And then you've got Toffoli with Suzuki at center and Caufield on the right side.
Yeah, Suzuki and Caufield are going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I know Caufield's, already pegged as, the potential colder winner for this season, him or Spencer Knight perhaps. But, again, I think Philip Deneau, what he was able to bring to the ice every single night between him and Josh Anderson, just that ability to shut down teams' top lines, I think is going to be sorely missed for a team that now their identity is sort of shifting a little bit, to a little bit more flash than it was, maybe, grit and substance when you had a guy like Shea Weber, Philip Deneau, Josh Anderson were your staples up front, Brendan Gallagher, again, another guy who was a great shutdown winger for this team, kind of a poor man's Mark Stone. But, again, between, losing Philip Deneau, Shea Weber for the year, Carey Price potentially being out for an unknown length of time, I think this team is going to struggle, and having to rely on guys like Nick Suzuki to carry the team are going to be all right, but I think they're just going to have trouble keeping their heads above water in this division. Yeah,
when you consider who those, like Nick Suzuki and Christian Dvorak, which I do like Christian Dvorak, but you consider the centers they're going to play up against. I mean, Patrice Bergeron, you've got, even a Dylan Larkin, Alex Barkov,
Tavares. I mean,
yep, Tavares, Matthews, Stamkos. There's a Braden Point. Like there are really good centers in this division, and you will drown if you're not in a good spot. Now, with that said, if Drouin, which the way he's looked in the preseason, he looks like he's ready to roll. Like maybe we start to see the Drouin that was drafted third overall by the Tampa Bay Lightning by Steve Yzerman. Maybe we see that Drouin. If he can be a 50-point guy again, we're looking at a pretty interesting Canadian team, because up front, they don't have the center depth that you love, and maybe some of that is just because Christian Dvorak played for the Arizona Coyotes, doesn't get a lot of exposure, and now he's in a role where he's going to get a ton of exposure, and maybe he is he ends up being a little better than expected. Nick Suzuki, if he can take another step, which, to be honest, every time he's been given an opportunity to take a step, he does it. So, is there a chance here that he does step into a full-time number one center role and looks great doing it, puts up 60 points? I think you'd be in a great spot. Cole Caufield is a favorite for the Calder. He's going to score goals. I'd be putting the over-under for Caufield on like 25 goals. If he can get somewhere close to that or even exceed it, you're definitely looking at a Montreal team that's probably in the playoffs. Tyler Toffoli, he could score 30 goals. Like, this could actually be a decent goal-scoring team with everything put together. I just wonder, you go to the back end where you've got Brett Kulak, Jeff Petrie, Ben Chariot, David Savard, and then like a Romanov-Weidman pairing. I don't see how this back end is going to defend against what this division can throw at you night in and night out. Not to mention, I don't think that Jake Allen, I like him as a backup goaltender playing 30 games a year, 25 games a year. I don't love, he didn't play that good last year, a .907 save percentage. I don't love what they're bringing to the table in that goaltending position, and especially what happens if one of these guys goes down? What happens if Allen goes down? Then they're in big, big trouble. Things can get away from them really fast. Now, one other thing to consider: Joel Edmondson, he'll come back from injury. Mike Hoffman is going to come back into that top nine again. So, the options are wide open for this team, and their depth is pretty strong. They just don't have much high end in terms of that defensive side. If anybody goes down, if Savard or Petrie goes down, it's going to be a tough go for the Habs.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? When you look beyond Jeff Petrie, there's not really anybody who's known as a puck mover who can produce on offense from that back end. And then, of course, when you look at the rest of their D, it's pretty much a bunch of shutdown guys, right? I think, David Savard and that number two pairing, I think he's going to do well. I think he'll be fine. But is it enough to get it done, right? And I'm with you there, too, when you talk about Jake Allen and net. I love him for 30, 35 games, but any more than that, I start to worry a little bit. And Sam Montembeault, he looked fine in small burst doses in Florida, but he's not a backup. I think he's
number
really
three.
He's a number three. That's what he is, and I think that's what he's his identity sort of was when he was with Florida, and it worked out well. So if he's called upon to be the guy, if Allen goes down or just isn't playing well, if they have to go to the reserves for somebody else, it's going to be very, very difficult for this team to come out. Caden Premu's down there too, and so when he played with Montreal last year for 4 games, he didn't look that good to me. And he was just okay in the AHL with the Lava Rockets. So again, I don't know what kind of goaltender you're going to get out of him either. So there's a whole bunch of question marks when you get beyond Carey Price in net there. So again, wishing Carey Price all the best, but if he's out for a majority of the season, with the lack of defensive power they have beyond Jeff Petrie, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for this team to win a ton of games in this division.
Now, here's the silver lining: the Canadiens have Carolina's first round pick. They've got their second. They've got three third round picks and 2 fourth round picks in next year's draft. If Shea Weber, if it's determined like, yeah, he's going to miss the year, or Carey Price is going to miss the year, like if something like that is determined, you better believe they're going to use some of those picks to go and acquire something, because then they'll have a lot of cap space open up because of the LTIR. And I think that once you consider that, I think there is a strong possibility, if they go out and they acquire a goaltender, suddenly things can change. If they go out and they acquire a UFA defenseman, things could look a little bit different. So I don't think that the team that we're looking at right now is even close to the team that will be for a playoff push. I think that they'll acquire some significant talent at some point during the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to really look hard at a top 4 defenseman at some point, in my opinion. Because I mean, again, Shea Weber, I don't think he's coming back this year, and there's even talks that he might not ever be back.
Retire, so. Right.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Okay, well, Montreal Canadiens. Now, one little slide in there, a secret guy down the lineup. I love Matthew Perrault. He had a really nice season for the Jets last year. He put up 9 goals in 56 games, like 19 points. He probably, he would have been like a 30-point guy. He signs at basically a league minimum, like $950,000. I think Matthew Perrault, he could definitely move up in the lineup, but he is a great fourth line type of player. I really like Matthew Perrault coming in there. And you talk about how Montreal's identity is like that good defensive, like hard-nosed type of hockey energy. He's definitely somebody who can provide that and can kill some penalties as well. So I like the Matthew Perrault signing. Okay, enough of the Montreal Canadiens. Shall we move on to the up-and-coming Ottawa Senators?
Let's do it.
Okay, the Ottawa Senators are kind of that like they're that sexy team. Hey, maybe they're the surprise playoff team that everybody goes, oh, there's always that one team, and they played really well down the stretch. They didn't do a ton in the offseason to bring in some new talent. They go out and they actually lost. Oh my gosh, now I can't think of his name. Dadonov. They lost Dadonov.
Oh yeah,
but that just was not a good fit from the very beginning. There's a lot of players that we want to see take some next steps. Joshua Norris, Tim Stützle, Shane Pinto, Drake Batherson. There's some really nice pieces, but they still haven't signed Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah, that's a concern. I mean, he's your leader on this team. Him and Thomas Chabot are the two, when you look at leadership on this team, they're the guys, right? They're the future of this team. I mean, I don't know what the holdup is, what's really going on. I haven't heard much, and maybe I haven't read the right articles. I'm not really sure, or follow the right guys on Twitter, but really, I'm sure it probably boils down to money because let's face it, I think Brady Tkachuk knows how much he means to this team moving forward, and from a leadership standpoint, from a production standpoint, and an identity standpoint. And then, I mean, let's face it. Ottawa, we know their purse strings are a little tight. They don't want to spend a ton of money, and Pierre Dorion is probably thinking, okay, cool, I want to get this guy in at $6-7 million, but Brady Tkachuk's not having any of that talk because he's going to be a 60-70 point guy easily every year. Along with all the intangibles this guy brings to the team, he's worth far more than $6 million in my book. But
yeah, especially they want to sign him to a 7 or 8 year deal is what they're trying to get him to. There's no way you're paying him $6 million a year. No way.
Right, exactly.
If you want him to sign an 8-year deal, he's probably signing for close to 9.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not. That would not surprise me, but I think long term this team is really taking a hard look at, guys like Tim Stützle, Shane Pinto, who are going to need new contracts eventually, right. And those are the other
Josh
guys.
Norris,
right? Yeah, those are other guys that are supposed to be the future of this team, and so I think they're playing it very, very carefully because they don't want to get themselves in a cap situation where they've got to overpay people to keep them, and then they end up screwing themselves 3-4 years from now.
Sure. Yeah, hopefully Brady Tkachuk signs before we get too deep into this season, but he obviously isn't having any problem holding out.
Yeah, what was it? Kyle Turris with the Arizona Coyotes missed the whole entire season by holding out.
Yeah.
You have to sign by December 1st, and he didn't do it. So
I don't know. I guess that December 1st is still that date. Some of those dates have adjusted a little, but that probably is still the case now. Now that we're kind of back on a somewhat normal schedule. The Ottawa Senators. I mean, to me, this is just. I don't see this as a playoff team, but I see them as taking a nice step forward. Like, I think that they'll, even if Brady Tkachuk is gone for a little while, I don't think that that's going to make or break them for being a playoff team or not. I still look at this defense outside of Shabbat. I mean, Nikita Zaitsev is like a number 5 defenseman. They just don't. I like Eric Brandstrom. I think he'll start to take more steps forward. Had a decent year last year for Ottawa, but I think defensively they're just still so weak that is ultimately their downfall. Not to mention, is Matt Murray good anymore? Like, is he good or is he not? The goaltending is likely to be maybe a little better than last year, but when you look at the defense, you kind of understand why he had such a poor year.
Yeah, and I think if this team wants to be anywhere close to a playoff team, Matt Murray's got to be the Matt Murray of old, right? That took Pittsburgh to a Stanley Cup and drove that net. And so, but again, that Pittsburgh team did it with a bunch of 5 and 6 defensemen, but this is a different forward group we're talking about here. So they don't have that Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin to carry them up front. So obviously, again, Matt Murray, I think he's going to continue to struggle. I don't think he's going to be as terrible as he was last year, but ultimately, I don't think he's good enough to really catapult this team into a playoff spot.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything that this team is going to do in this division to get them over the top at this point. Like, I think that Tampa Bay and Toronto are securely locked in the playoffs. Florida as well. I mean, there's your top 3. Now, they don't necessarily finish 1, 2, 3, but they're all in the playoffs. The Bruins probably also in the playoffs, and it's going to be tough to keep Montreal even out of the playoffs. They'll be in a battle if the Metro ends up kind of being as bottom. Some of their bottom feeder teams really just bottom out. Maybe only 3 teams make it from the Metro, but it's probably more likely a 4-4 split. I just don't see Ottawa. Like, who's Ottawa going to take? Montreal, Boston, Florida? Like, do we see them overtaking any of those teams? I don't think so.
No, those teams have to have just epic collapses, yes, in my opinion, to,
barring horrendous injury problems, I don't see it happening. So
exactly.
Okay, let's move on to the defending Stanley Cup champions of the last 2 years, the Tampa Bay Lightning. This team is pretty much the same outside of an entire third line being gone that helped them win 2 cups.
Yeah, boy, you wonder what kind of effect that's going to have on this team now, because now you can't go out and you can't roll 3-4 lines every single night. Now you maybe have got 3 lines you can roll and hope that, your 4th can chip in every now and again. I mean,
well, they've got the secret weapon in Corey Perry.
Apparently so. My goodness, that guy seems to be, he does all right. I mean, but you know what? Hey, if anything is like his last 2 seasons, Tampa Bay will at least make the Stanley Cup final and then lose. So,
oh geez, yeah. Which 3 Stanley Cup finals in a row is unbelievable.
Right.
If they were able to do that. I think just a full season of Nikita Kucherov, that in and of itself is going to more than make up for what the Lightning. The Lightning didn't have their best regular season last year. There was no point where you were like, oh, the Lightning might miss the playoffs. But they definitely, they weren't the powerhouse regular season team that they had been in the past. They finished third in that Central Division. They were not even close to missing the playoffs by any means, but not a dominant, absolutely dominant regular season. And some of that was because, hey, guess what? They were without their best player all year long. And then Kucherov comes in for the playoffs, and what does he do? He basically goes on what would be if he put up the points that he puts up in the playoffs.
Oh my gosh.
the guy's going to have 140 points if he does what he did in the playoffs the last 2 years. I mean, that's in 48 playoff games, he has 66 points. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's like 125, 130 point pace. So if he can do that in the regular season, which, I mean, I guess he's one game in, no points. So obviously on a huge struggle bus, Nikita Kucherov right now.
Right.
He's on a big goalless streak. Now, a full season of Kucherov and in an even more healthy Steven Stamkos, those things are all going to help. Even if the depth isn't necessarily there the same way that it was last year. I mean, you're expecting Matthew Joseph to take another step and maybe be able to move up into that, either the second line or command his own third line. You're thinking that he's going to take a step, and I mean, everyone else on there on this team has already proven so much. Like Palat's a UFA. You kind of wonder, is Palat just going to have an excellent year, knowing that he can really get paid next year? That's usually contract years are some big money, big point productions for certain players, and I would expect Palat to have a really good year.
Yeah, I mean, looking at their cap situation next year, it doesn't look like they have the money to sign Palat or give him a raise or anything close to that, especially with Braden Point's extension kicking in next year. Now, the guy that I look at to really take the next step forward is Anthony Cirelli. He centers that second line with Killorn and Stamkos, and he looked, again, last night against Pittsburgh, even though in a losing effort, he looked really good. To me, he's going to be the guy, I think, that if this team wants to still be competitive, he's going to have to take another step. And it's funny because John Cooper, he's coaching Canada for the Olympics,
right,
and he's already talking about maybe giving one of those roster spots to Anthony Cirelli because that's how much he really likes his game. And considering the amount of talent that the Canadiens have at the forward position, that speaks volumes.
Heck yeah. Well, he is on pace for an 82-goal season, 82 assists, so 164 points.
Sure, okay. Connor McDavid 2.0.
Right. No, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and that is when you win, someone else needs to step up because you're going to lose guys, and that'll be the case. But fortunately for them, they still have Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough, Mikhail Sergachev, and most importantly, Andrei Vasilevsky. Like, you've got the best goalie in the world. You're going to be good. It would surprise me if the Lightning didn't finish in the top 3 of this division. I'd be shocked.
Victor Hedman, I mean, last year plays the entire season with a broken foot, from what I understand, and still managed to put up 45 points. So now he's healthy. What kind of Victor Hedman are we going to get now? We're going to get just the beast, in my opinion. So he's going to put all those $9 million defensive contracts that got signed this year to shame if I had anything to say about it.
All right. I love it. Yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning, they're going to be good. I know. It's controversial. Tampa Bay Lightning are going to
bold. Just bold.
Be very good. Okay, let's the last team in the Atlantic Division, the team that I've been waiting so patiently to preview, the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is going to be a year for the Leafs. It's going to be one of those years where, expectations are high, and if hopefully things are different. that's about, I think this is the year of skepticism for Leafs fans. I mean, the Leafs were bad for a long time, and they got some really good players, and everyone was willing to be patient while those players developed. And now watching them lose in the first round, or like, in the bubble, not even in the in the preliminary round. Now myself and a lot of other Leafs fans have kind of had it. Like this needs to be the put up or shut up year. And, big expectations for Marner and Matthews. We know what we're going to get in the regular season, and it's all going to come down to the playoffs. Yes, you have to get to the regular season. This team is way too good to miss the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs, it's because everyone gets hurt. Like everyone goes down, and there's just nothing you can do about it. But this team is good enough to take the division. I think. Them and Tampa Bay, they're the two best teams in this division, and it'll be a dogfight for who takes top spot. I think, of course, having a healthy John Tavares, that's going to be a big improvement in the playoffs. But at that point, I can't predict what's going to happen in April. So what I can see for the regular season, obviously, it hurts to lose Hyman, and there's a lot of new faces in the top 9 forwards. Nick Ritchie is going to play up front with Matthews when he comes back from his wrist injury. Kasha has the potential, I think, to be a nice dark horse signing for the Leafs. And can Jason Spezza continue to fight against the clock? And last year he put up good 30 points in 54 games. 45, 50 point season in a full season. Can he do that again? And if he can, you're looking at a great top 9. If Spezza really time catches up to him, then I think that you're maybe struggling to figure out what to do with those bottom center positions. Yeah,
for Jason Spezza, I have no doubt that he's still going to put up 30 points in 80 games this year. And I think for a guy that's going to be, seeing bottom 6 minutes, that's more than enough production to make me happy with what he brings to the table.
Sure. At 750,000, absolutely.
Right, absolutely. And so the question mark I have, though, barring all the injuries that this team, has right now with Austin Matthews being out, Mikheyev, currently being out, my big question is Peter Mrazek and Jack Campbell the answer in goal that Fredrik Andersen was not?
Yeah, I do think that Mrazek has proven that he can actually win. Yeah, I think he's been good enough. I think that Jack Campbell was. I'll say this: I don't think their goaltending was why they lost to Montreal.
No, I agree.
It definitely wasn't Jack Campbell who blew it. I think it's they've got to score in the playoffs. Their best players need to show up and be their best players. I will say that if there's one potential for a player to come in and play way over what his salary cap hit is, it's Rasmus Sandin. Like, if Rasmus Sandin can play the way that he's a first round pick, play the way that the Leafs expect that he will pan out to be, I think you're looking at there's a top 4 defenseman that is making on his ELC, and well, it would be I think what's going to happen if Sandin can have a really good season, and let's say he puts himself in a position where he is in the top 4 and he has a big year, I think that it's going to make the Morgan Rielly situation very difficult, because you're going to have to re-sign Morgan Rielly. He's a UFA, and then you also are going to have to re-sign Sandin at the same time. And that's going to be a challenge if Sandin has a really good year. So that's where the Leafs sit. It's the regular season it's going to be fun. I think Austin Matthews is going to push for 60 goals.
Wow. Okay.
Over under on 60. What do we think?
I'm taking the under on that.
He had 41 in 52 games last year.
Injury aside, right? Assuming he's healthy and back to normal when he returns, 50 goals would not shock me.
He scored 41 goals with like a bum wrist. He hurt that wrist like 8 games into the year.
Yeah, I have a hard time going 60 for anybody right now that's not named Alex Ovechkin, and I wouldn't even give him 60 at any point now at his age. But yeah, if anybody can do it, it would be Austin Matthews in this league. I think he or maybe a guy by the name of Leon Draisaitl probably could. But yeah, I would peg Matthews to be the first guy to do that again in this league. So
yeah, I'm taking the over on 60 goals for Matthews.
Okay.
This is going to be a nutty. It's going to maybe be a little slow of a start, and then he'll catch fire. Obviously, he's recovering from a wrist injury. Not that a hurt wrist hurt his goal production last year. I also think with a team, the difference between this team where obviously you had Zach Hyman last year. Hyman put up big points. He was able to do some of the things that like a quote-unquote superstar maybe isn't willing to do. I actually think that the Leafs went out and acquired several like Zach Hyman lights, like a Michael Bunting, a David Kampf, Nick Ritchie. Not Oleg Kasha, I think, is more of an outside type of player, but those guys are all formidable guy who can they can play up in the lineup. They're not going to be the Zach Hyman, putting up 60 points. But I think because you don't have Hyman's bigger contract, you're able to actually have depth throughout. And there was a few times where Hyman went down. And now, if Michael Bunting goes down, it's okay. You've got a few other guys. But when your guy making over $4 million keeps going, that's becomes a problem for you. You're just not getting that same level of production from guys below. I think Nick Ritchie has big potential to kind of have the year that he's been hoping to have. I think his best year is 15 goals. It was last year, his career year in terms of goals. I think he has a good chance to score 20 for the first time, maybe even put up, dare I say, like a 45, 50-point season for Nick Ritchie if he's up playing with Austin Matthews. I think there's a lot of opportunity on the table because all of a sudden these slots are open with superstars where, whoever kind of clicks and finds that chemistry, they're going to have great years, and it's going to help them to get paid down the road.
Yeah, I'm going to call it right now. I think at some point Nick Ritchie is unseated on that top line, and Michael Bunting is going to take over. I'm predicting at least 55 points for him.
All right. Well, I wouldn't hate that at all.
I love his game, and I think he did well in Arizona, and I think it's going to translate very well here with those stars on that top six.
And what's funny with the Leafs, I think for the first time, like last year, their defense was quite good. Everyone played well. Everyone had their roles, and really, outside of adding Sandin, not much has changed to this top six. So, TJ Brody, I think he fit in very nicely with the Leafs. Morgan Riley in a contract year, you got to think that he's going to be on point. Like I'm sure he wants to get paid. And Jake Muzzin is just the sign of consistency. And Justin Hall, I mean, the Leafs decided to protect Hall instead of Jared McCann, so he's going to have to prove that was the right decision. I think that they have decent depth defensively with Timothy Liljegren also, but if they get hit a couple times defensively, there's not a whole lot left after that, and that would be maybe the one concern that I have. Is what do you have behind some of these guys if there were an injury? So,
right.
At the forward position though, there's plenty there. You're obviously relying on your high end guys. It's like any team though. What team could sustain 3 injuries at a position and not be blasted and not be in a tough spot? So, all right, Justin, I think it's time for our playoff predictions for the Atlantic Division.
Oh joy.
Who do you have finishing in last place? Buffalo or Detroit?
I think that's easy. I think that's Buffalo.
Yeah. I'm going Buffalo, Detroit for my 2 bottom teams.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. I think Detroit obviously is going to finish second worst in this division. Unfortunately, I just don't think they've got enough to really get over that hump this year. I think they're going to improve a little bit, but ultimately, I think that the teams in front of them are just a little bit too good.
Yeah, yeah. I am going to be. I'm going to be like, I got to have one like a little ballsy pick here. So I'm going to say that the Boston Bruins finish behind the Ottawa Senators.
Ooh.
So I'm going Buffalo, Detroit, Boston, Ottawa. Who do you have in your 6 in your your 6 in your 5 spot?
Yeah, I'm going to play it a little safer. Probably going to go Ottawa at 6, Montreal at 5 right now.
Okay. Yep. I'm going to go Montreal at 4, and then I think this is the hard spot, because now once you've got Tampa, Toronto, Florida, it's kind of a crapshoot in terms of the regular season. I kind of want to lean towards like another Tampa, Florida first round again. So I just don't think I can. I think that the Florida Panthers are going to win this division.
I absolutely agree. I'm glad you picked that, because that's where I'm at too.
It's only the goaltending. The goaltending would concern me if Spencer Knight, he's still a young guy, really young guy. It's not too often that a 20-year-old, 21-year-old has plays a full phenomenal regular season. So that would be my one concern there. But I think I would go Florida, Tampa, Toronto for my 1, 2, 3.
Okay, yeah, I absolutely. I'll flip Toronto and Tampa. I'll give Tampa the 3rd spot, and I'm going to give Toronto the number 2.
All right.
And Boston at number 4. But for me, the X factor with Florida finishing number 1 is Joel Quenneville. I think he takes home the Jack Adams and is Coach of the Year.
Okay, I love it. I would actually love more if the Leafs finish first, but it usually never pans out exactly the way you see it. But I think there is a chance here that Florida, Tampa, and Toronto all finish with over 100 points.
Yep, I could see it.
I think that's likely. All right, well, that is our Atlantic Division preview. If you want to go back and listen to every single division preview, there's a part 1 and a part 2 for them all. Subscribe to the show, hit the little button wherever you listen, and you can also find us on Twitter at OT Hockey Talk. We hope that you have a blast enjoying the first week of the regular season. We will be back to talk about everything that's going on, and hopefully some of the a Brady Tkachuk signing maybe, and we will keep you abreast to all the things going on in the National Hockey League. Until then, enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you soon. do you think? Let's give a Brady Tkachuk prediction here. Maybe we'll get it before the show. Are we thinking $7 million? $8 million?
I think he's gonna get Pettersson money, I think, is what he's gonna get. 3 years, $7 million bucks.
I'm wondering if he gets $8 million bucks, because you know why? Because the GM, of Ottawa comes out, Pierre Dorian, and he says, we're no longer in a rebuild. And Brady Tkachuk's got to go, bro, if you don't give me my money, you're going to be like a rebuilding team. So you better pay me. I mean, they have the cap space to do it. It's not like their most expensive forward is Drake Batherson, under $5 million. So it's not as if they can't afford to pay him. And frankly, I don't think, at least under the NHL cap, maybe there's an internal cap that we don't know about. But I mean, you're just not going to pay him more than Shabbat. Probably if you pay him $8 million, it's $8 million solid, just like Shabbat. But we shall see, won't we?
Can't wait.
All right. Well, that is our show. You can find us on Twitter at OT Hockey Talk. Let us know what you thought, and we will get with you soon. Have a good rest of your day.